Welcome to another Foolish Thoughts episode. This is Joseph Barone, aka A Fool for Learning, and our foolish thought for today is retirement, the first thing that I did. In December, and I've mentioned this before, in December of 2024, I decided to fully retire. I finished my work with the Montgomery County Board of Elections and decided to collect my pension. So, here's my advice for anyone who decides to retire. You simply cannot simply sit around and watch TV all day or sit on the porch and watch the grass grow. Now, there's nothing wrong with doing that for a couple of days, maybe a week or so, kind of readjust, maybe go on vacation, but you can't do it permanently. You've got to keep your mind and your body in shape. So, what did I do? Even before I finished working for the Board of Election, and even before my first pension check came in, I put together a list of things that needed to be done. The list was about 35 items. There was no rhyme or reason to the list. It was just simply a list of things which I needed to do both on a personal level and around the house. And this wasn't a list that my wife told me to do. It wasn't a honey-do list. It was things that I saw there was a need, these things needed to be done, and decided to meet the challenge. And so, one other thing about the list that I put together, which is something I recommend everyone to do, is these are generally not routine items, such as vacuuming the floor or cleaning the toilet. These are items which you don't do every single day, maybe once a year, maybe once every couple of years. Now, so what was on my list? What were some of these 35 things on my list? Well, some of the things which needed to be done around the house, and anyone who owns a house knows that there's always something to do. For example, we have a small food pantry, and the pantry was in serious need of reorganization. And so that went on our list. We have some closets in our basement. Those closets went on the list to be cleaned out and reorganized. Bookcases. We have a number of bookcases. 4 of the bookcases needed to be fixed and books cleaned out. Those were put on the list. Now, one of the things is it can really seem to get overwhelming when you say clean out all the bookcases. So what I did was I broke things down into manageable tasks. For example, each closet was an item on the list, each closet that needed to be cleaned out. Each bookcase, which needed to be fixed and then the books cleaned out, the ones we didn't want anymore, that was an individual item on the list. Now, as mentioned, in addition to items around the house, were also a number of personal things that I needed to do. For example, I needed to ensure that my membership at the local rec center was up to date so that I could use the fitness center. There were a couple of medical appointments that I had been putting off because I was working. Those went on the list also. Now, some of those items would take a few days to complete, such as the fixing of the bookcases and the cleaning out of the books, while some items could easily be completed in one day, such as the food pantry, and some items only took 1 or 2 hours to do. But nevertheless, as each item was completed, it was crossed off. And when I had 5, 6, 7 items completed on the list, again, this list of 35 items, was rewritten and new things added. And in fact, as of this podcast, and this podcast is recorded in early April, and you'll see it in a couple of days. I've updated my list probably about 7 or 8 times, and it's a great feeling of accomplishment. I've got these things done. Now I'm adding new things to the list. And I've also actually created a second list. And you're like, a second list? Well, these are items that need to be done outdoors, such as fertilizing the lawn or weeding the lawn, that sort of stuff, painting a couple of outdoor things. Those are things really on the list that I can't really do until the weather is much better. So that's kind of an outdoor list. And that's a temporary type of list. Now, one of the questions people may say, well, how do you keep this list? What do you do? Do you keep it electronically? Do you keep it on paper? Do you have a whiteboard? To be honest, it doesn't really matter how you keep your list as long as you keep it. I myself keep it on a simple white yellow sheet of paper, legal pad of paper, and that list keeps getting updated as needs to be done. And in fact, it doesn't really matter how you do it, just do it. Okay? And by doing so, by keeping a list with all of these items, to be honest, It's allowed me to be a lot calmer. My anxiety level has decreased as it keeps me organized and it keeps me working towards completing things around the house. So if you're married, I know your spouse will thank you. So just my foolish thought for the day. If you learned from something from this episode, please take a moment to like, comment, subscribe, or even share with a friend. And if you need to learn more about me, you can find me out on LinkedIn. This is Joseph Barone, aka A Fool for Learning, signing out. Remember, learn, perform, succeed.